Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl, Brandy Yvonne. Here at my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows, y'all. This particular video, we are talking about WeTV's The Braxtons, Season 1, Episode 2, Healing Takes Time. Before we get into it, please do not hesitate to hit that thumbs up button for me. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are enjoying the content. Share the video where you like to share your content and comment down below. Let me know what y'all thought of this episode. This was another hard, emotional episode of the Braxtons for sure. I was like, damn, we just gonna be crying every week. Like, I know we going through something with Tracy's death. I understand, but I hope we get, I hope we get a little relief next week because it's a little draining for me at this point. I'm like, I want all the ladies to get their healing, but it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. Anyway, but I'm still enjoying the show. So anyway, let's get into the episode. I feel like they didn't show some things. So before we get into it, did y'all notice they showed stuff in the previews that they did not show in the episode? And they kept showing scenes that were coming up that did not come up tonight. I was very, very confused. I was like, was this a Philo TV thing, a WeTV thing, a Braxton's thing? I was like, what's going on? Y'all let me know if y'all had that same experience in the comments. So anyway, they basically picked up where they left off in the grief session. The whole episode was them in the grief session. So we didn't see any other scenes. So I was like, this is weird. Anyway, I think the counselor was asking Mama Evelyn how did she feel and where she's at in her grief process. And she said she's hurting for Kevin. And she has pain for Kevin and she feels bad for Kevin. So she's like, okay, well, what about you? She said she has felt hurt, but she's doing okay. And then the counselor Spirit said, is she Dr. Spirit or just Spirit? Y'all let me know in the comments. Anyway, she's like, you said felt. What do you mean? She's like, yes, of course, no one can prepare you for losing a child, and it's been really hard. And she said, but she's I guess Mama E feels like she's, I don't want to say past her grief, but she's not grieving right now. She says she's almost lost Tracy a couple times. One time when she was pregnant with her, another time when she had a high fever, and this time she couldn't save her. And she said, of course, she has her days and she's sad and it hurts, but she still sees Tracy and Tracy visits her all the time. So she feels joy. And she said, this time when Tracy got sick, she prayed that God would take, she said, it's hard to say, but I did pray that God would take her because she was suffering so much. And sometimes we do have to make those hard prayers, right? Sometimes we just got to pray that God's will be done, or that person, doesn't suffer anymore, because we may want them here with us, which is great. But if they're here with us, it's suffering and pain and sick, like, let's just let them rest, right? Let's let them go on to heaven. Like, they don't need to stay. They're only staying here holding on for us, right? And that's how I get what Mama E was saying in that moment. It's just so sad though. So, I think at this point the family started talking about, they just kind of did this montage of Tracy. They're talking about, so I guess it was Tony's, last time they were filming, it was Tony's birthday and it was COVID, because Tony had on that hazmat suit. Now I vaguely remember watching those episodes, vaguely. So anyway, and Tracy kept saying her throat was burning when she swallowed it, her throat burned. So they told her, you need to go to the doctor. She did. She told her mom she had cancer, stage 4 esophagus cancer, and she said she's going to beat it so she could show other women, that they can make it through this as well. And her mom said, yes, you are going to beat it. And so they were showing, everyone's just talking about Tracy and, how she was. And they showed we saw a lot of Tracy's, the last final scenes, right? A lot of scenes of her being sick. A lot of scenes of her being sick. Oh, that was hard to see. That was hard to see. So they would fly, to where Tracy lives. I'm thinking Baltimore. And, they would stay with her, do karaoke with her. They said they watched a lot of Judge Judy. They would play games. They're playing cards. And, they were just there with her. I think Tony did shave her head. in solidarity. So, they were just showing all the moments with her. Tamar said that they would talk about her motorcycle clubs and all her motorcycles and what that meant to her. And then I guess Princess and the Frog was her favorite movie, and Tamar didn't know that. They talked about turkey wings, and Tracy gave Tamar the turkey wing recipe as well. And so they're just talking about, how fun she was. They're showing some of the flashback scenes from the Braxton family values. Shout out to JB says what, because he said his favorite scene is when Tracy got her butt squeezed in Italy, and that's one of my favorite scenes. And they played that scene again tonight. She was like, "He squeezed it in my butt, though." Like the way she reacted to it, and Trina was like, "Dang, she would get a butt squeeze." They went to Italy. That was one of my favorite episodes too. So I felt you on that, JB. Anyway, so they're just showing the crazy stuff Tracy used to say and all that good stuff, right? So they were just showing a whole thing. Tony said, Tracy was trying to be strong, but she knew something was going on. And they were just a whole, talking about her. And Trina said it was very hard, that situation, being with Trina in her final days, but she would do it again. So the counselor was like, okay, so let's continue talking about where everybody's at and how they're feeling about their process. She's like, if you guys are not going to talk, we can't get to the root of the issue. So I guess somebody asked about, what do you mean what is the root of the issue? And she said, well, usually when it's grief is pulling back like layers of deeper symptoms of other things going on, right? And which is true. So, but she's like, if we can't say what we need to say, then that's a problem. And so then Trina spoke up about what she was feeling. She was like, well, I have something to say. She's like, basically, she's going through it. Like, she can't sleep. She's up every night. She was there. She said, I should have listened to Towanda. She got very emotional. She's like, Towanda said I couldn't do it. I should have listened to her, but I was there when Tracy took her last breath. So Tracy and Miss E were there when Tracy took her last breath. Oh my gosh. Okay. That just made me think of my granny. Okay. So anyway, and so Trina's like, it was just really hard. It's like you could just see every ounce of energy deplete from her body, like limb by limb. And oh God, Trina, why? Girl, that's rough. So then Trina said it was really hard. I should have listened to Towanda. And Towanda said in her confessional, like, she's like, I knew Trina is very emotional. She could not handle seeing Tracy do that. I told her not to do it, but she did it anyway. Towanda seems to be like the one like in charge of the girls, kind of like Tony is, because she's the oldest, but Towanda is like the one keeping it all together. She doing the work of the Lord. So anywho, Trina's getting emotional. So she said if she want to eat, and eat because it makes her feel good because she's stuffing her emotions. She want to have 12 margaritas. That's what she got to do because it helps her escape. And she's getting fat because she's just eating her emotions, and she wants to drink. She want to have all the crab legs, all the shrimp, all the oxtails, all the crackers, the chips, everything. She got to eat because she's going through it about Tracy. So she said she doesn't sleep. You can ask Towanda, ask her mama. She don't sleep at night because when she closes her eyes, she thinks about seeing Tracy die, pass away every day and being there. And when she closes her eyes, is darkness, and she sees Tracy passing, and she's like, by the time she's going to sleep, it's morning time. So I'm like, oh Lord, that's no way to live. And she was just crying out, and that was hard. I was like, let's pray for healing for the whole family, but especially let's lift up Trina. Let's especially lift up Trina. And Tamar's like, I'm so sorry you went through that. So sorry. She's like, can I touch you? Can I hug you? And then they're like, no, because it's going to make her, more emotional. And so she's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry you went through that. And so then Trina felt like, since we all went through what we went through, she thought that, they would be closer, but it feels like they had the whole family unit. But then once Tracy passed away, everybody kind of went to their corners and they're not as close as they used to be. And she doesn't like that. And so I understand that. I think my family, we experienced that when my granny died. I think we experienced that too. I mean, we still gather for family gatherings, but of course it's not like it used to be, right? Sometimes you're that person that held everybody together, and it's just hard when they pass. So Um, then we somehow, I don't know how we got to Tony. I can't remember, but anyway, the therapist was like, "Well, how do you feel, Tony, hearing your sisters, say that you're not that close anymore and all this stuff?" And so Tony feels like because she's the oldest, it's hard because she was thought to be like super sister and like they think that she thinks she's right about everything and she doesn't think that and she doesn't feel like she could be vulnerable with them and or she could be there for them. So she said, as her role as a big sister, she doesn't feel like she can really grieve like that or lean on her sisters like that. And so the grief counselor is like, okay, but how does that help you heal if you need to be healing? And so she was like, well, Tony basically says she uses her music as therapy. And then she thinks of the time right before she got her record deal because that was a happier time. Like, things were more innocent. She wasn't in a business yet. And so that helps her heal. But she knows she has to, really do some more healing as well. And so then I think the counselor checked on Towanda, like, Towanda, okay, how are you feeling with your healing situation? And Towanda said she thinks of grief a lot differently. So she's more at peace. She thinks of like when people pass away, it's just their spirit left, but they're still there. So she doesn't feel like kind of like Tracy's not really gone. Like she knows she passed away, but she knows she's still with her. And um so she just kind of thinks of it as a different way. She's of course she has her times where she's sad or and stuff like that, but she's like, Tracy's still here, I can still talk to her, I can still, you know, I don't know if she said see her, but basically Tracy's still there for her. And that's just how she kind of deals with grief. And like, like we said before, everyone deals with grief differently, right? So she seems to be more at peace with it, is what it sounds like. So then I think the therapist was going to like move on to something else. And then Tawana was like, hold on, Spirit, like, can we check in with Dad and little Kevin on, how they're feeling with everything? And so the Spirit was like, oh yeah, of course. Now I don't know why Spirit, because I was waiting on Spirit to ask, Mr. Braxton, because he lost a child. Mr. Braxton was like, I'm just here to learn and listen to everybody else and how I can support them. But I wanted to hear how he was feeling because you lost a child also. Like I wanted to know. And then they got to Kevin. Kevin said it's hard, especially because he's going through a divorce right now. And his mom and his wife used to talk, and his wife said she would be there for him no matter what happens. And then now she's filed for this divorce, so it's just really hard on him. I can just imagine what little Kevin's going through. How old is he now? He's got to be in his 20s, right? So then we see little Kevin talking to somebody, and then we hear it, and it sounded like the police to them. And where everybody's like, wait, Spirit's like, wait, is that little Kevin's mic? Like, what is going on? And so then you could hear the police talking to him. And so Tawanda's like, Tamar's like, is that the police? Like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? Tawanda's like, let it go. Like, just let him handle this. Just let him handle this. This was the weirdest scene to me, y'all. I have mixed feelings about this scene. So then Tamar and Tony's like, wait, is that the police though? Is that the police though? And so little Kevin got back on camera and he was like, let me call y'all back. So he left. And then I think Michael's thing got cut off as well, Mr. Braxton. And then they're like, wait, is the cops here? Like, what is going on? And so then Tawanda's like, he's got to handle this. Like, I don't want, like, let it go. Like, I think Towanda was not trying to get into it too much on camera, but then, girl, you explained what happened on camera. So I was so confused. So then Miss Evelyn told Towanda to go check on him. So Tawanda's checking on him and she's like, oh my God, are you serious? Are you serious? Tell me what the charges is. Like, tell him, put him on the phone. I want to know what the charges is. So part of me was like, is this for real or is this for TV? Because it's just coincidental that the cops came when he was doing this scene. Towanda did say in the confessional that she thinks somebody set him up because who would know, like, because I guess it was an anonymous call that's called and said there was arrest out for a warrant for him or something like that, and called the cops. And so the cops came. She was like, they had to have known he was there. Yeah, it was very too coincidental. It was. I'm thinking it probably was real. I'm gonna just give the benefit of the doubt that they wouldn't, make something like that up, especially with Tracy passing. I hope to God they wouldn't make something like that up. But it was just like weird Like, who would do that? That was just messed up. It's had to be somebody that knew he was filming right then, right? That's what I think. Somebody knew he was filming right then. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, because it was giving very much weird. It was giving very much weird. So anywho, so while they were gone, and I guess Trina was tapping her foot too much for Tamar, because Tamar's like, "What is going on, Trina? You tapping your foot? Like, y'all got all these secrets. Like, what is going on?" And Tony's like, "Well, I don't know what's going on either." So Tamar's getting all mad, and so when Towanda came back, she explained that the whole warrant thing, and they're taking him in, and he has to go before the commissioner to see what the warrant is about, because he doesn't even know what it's about. I was like, that is so crazy. He's trying to deal with his mom's death and the divorce, and then he got to deal with that. That's too much. So Tamar's like, y'all got all these secrets. Like, y'all not telling me what's going on. Like, I'm sick of this. So she going off, and Trina kept telling her, like, this is not the forum. This is not the forum. And I'm feeling the same way. Like, Tamar, this ain't got nothing to do with you, whether you know what's going on or not, or you feel like they keep the secrets from you or not. At the end of the day, this is about helping little Kevin and everything he's going through. So, like, I get what Tamar was trying to say. Like, she felt like maybe they were hiding something from her. I don't think in that moment they were hiding anything from her. So I don't know how she took the ball, ran with it that way. And also, little Kevin is in the midst of going through this. So really, if you know something or not, don't matter. Like, why are you making this about you? Yeah, Tamar did good in episode 1 with her shenanigans, but she failed in episode 2 for me, because she started doing too much. Started doing too much of her Tamar situations that she usually do, and I didn't like it. And we already mad at her for what she did online. Okay. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go look online, watch my last review of this show after you finish this one. So anywho, so then, and this kind of leads to the girls arguing and fussing and fighting and stuff, because Tamar is, so Tony feels like, okay, Tamar, maybe we've done a disservice to her because she's the youngest, so maybe we don't always tell her. She feels like we're not telling her stuff because we don't want to worry her, and that's not good, and we're not doing the right thing when it comes to that. And she's like, I've tried to understand my sister, but this is not the first time. Like, this Kevin situation is a deeper issue. Like, it's not the first time Tamar has felt this way. And they've played a flashback, and she's like, I try to understand her and what she's going through and she's talking about, but I don't understand, and I'm trying to understand her. And I could see that Tony does want to understand her. And I don't fully understand Tamar, except for her just being the youngest, and that's how they act. That's all I see. I'm no shade. Tamar's grieving too. But that's all I get from Tamar is I'm the youngest, and this is how I'm going to act. So, anywho, so then the girls get to argue and fuss, and Tamar feels like they got so many secrets, and there's all these things going on. And so Spirit is like, okay, are you guys ready to move on? Or is this Kevin thing a bit much? They were like, what would Tracy do? They were like, Tracy would have been down there with her baby. So they were like, yeah, we might need to continue to set another time, because now we're all worried about Kevin. And Tony's like, I don't understand what just happened. Like, everybody got defensive. And I'm not saying just one person. Like, everybody got defensive and got really weird in this moment when the Kevin thing came up. She's like, I don't understand where that came from, what that's about. So Tamar's like, no, like I've done grief counseling before. Like, I don't need to continue it with Spirit. And Tamar said in a confessional, and this is also left field, that she's done grief counseling. She's all for people getting healing and help and mental health and all that, but her boundaries are real firm. She has to make sure she's taken care of, and she's surrounding herself with her kid and her loved ones, and that's what matters to her. And she don't know how to convey that to a stranger, especially like Spirit or anybody else, but her boundaries are real firm, and she's not moving on them. And I was like, what that got to do with this? Like, I was so confused. Was anybody else confused? I was like, what do this got to do with this? So then Tamar said she's tired of begging. She's not going to beg them anymore. And so Tony is like, wait, well, what you mean by beg you? Like, begging, like, girl, what are you talking about? And I was like, girl, who begging? Like, what? And so then she was like, I'm not going to beg my sisters to, hang out with me anymore, spend time with me, and all that. So Tony's like, well, I'm sorry you felt that way. Like, I never wanted you to feel like you had to beg anyone to spend time with you and all that. And so Spirit's like, okay, well, how do y'all feel that you're, there's like a closed off wall, like, and you can't have access to your sister? So Towanda's like, I don't feel no ways tied. She's like, I don't feel nothing about it. Like, I try to just respect people's boundaries. That's all I do. Spirit's like, well, respecting is an action. Like, how do you feel about it? She was like, well, I guess I feel numb. And so Spirit was like, well, numb is still an emotion. So Tawanda's like, yeah, but like basically it doesn't, she's not worried about it. Like she's not tripping on it. That's, until that person is ready to come around, that's what it is. And so Tamar's like, I'm not going to keep trying to call them and reaching out, and they're not going to. And Trina's like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Like, let's speak on the person you're speaking to instead of like making it a group thing. And so Trina's like, every time you call me, times out of 10, Tamar, where do I go? And she's like, you come over. She's like, I appreciate that. She's like, no, it's not about appreciation. And she's like, it is what I do. Like, so she's like, and Trina said in the group, like, they tend to want to lump everybody together instead of just addressing the person, which they do that a lot. And so this leads to like Towanda and Tamar getting into it, and Tawanda's like, okay, Tamar's like, when's the last time you called me? And then I guess they called each other a couple days ago. She's like, yeah, because we're filming now. And I guess Tamar didn't like what Towanda was saying. She's like, oh, this is TV, huh? And so Towanda was like, no. She's like, well, you didn't. She's like, when's the last time we talked before this? And then she's like, well, you didn't call me on my birthday in September. She's like, girl, we in March. This is, September was how many months ago? And so then they going back and forth. And so basically Towanda feels like Tamar keeps moving like the carrot, like, oh, okay, I'm mad about this. Okay, never mind. Now it's this. Okay, now it's this. And I feel like Tamar does that as well, to be honest. And so Tamar's like keep something when they were talking about it being numb, and Tamar's like, keep it gangster, like you don't care. And so then they were going back and forth, and Tawanda's like, don't put words in my mouth. And I was over it. I'm like, y'all too big to be arguing like this. Towanda says she don't have time for certain kind of energy. She focuses on her relationship, her kids, and who was in her household. She don't, she has set her boundaries. She's not going to deal with certain type of energies. Towanda very much gives, I don't have time for Tamar's stuff. I don't have time. And Tamar, and it's funny because they both talking about they setting boundaries. They're kind of saying the same thing. It's kind of weird. Of course, Mama E got sick of them arguing and fussing and fighting. And she, she went off. Okay. She started talking about, I'm sick of this. You're arguing, you're fussing, you're fighting and all that. And so, Trina got up and took the cup from her. She didn't want her to spill it on her outfit. So then, she's like, you're grown people. Tracy told y'all if y'all gonna keep arguing, she gonna come back and hunt y'all. And she told Spirit, you deal with them. Miss Edith does this speech every time the girls fuss and fight. I'm tired of them arguing as well. It's like, your sister just died. Like, put all that BS away. Like, all of them guilty as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, Spirit said, I think, they heard you and they will, take account into what you said. And so Miss E's like, yeah, girl. And so she was like, you don't think I didn't talk to them multiple times? She said, I know you spoke to them since they were in the womb. And she's like, you don't believe they heard you? She's like, no, I believe it, but I'm tired of praying the same prayer to God. Miss E is tired, and y'all need to stop fussing. Miss E is only getting older. She look good and all that, but she is only getting older. Like, y'all need to really stop. So, Spirit said something and to Tony. I think she said something to Tony, and Tony was talking about how she doesn't feel like her parents did a good job making sure the family was together, but they didn't do a good job with like not making them feel so responsible for each other. And it's kind of like she felt like she was responsible for her siblings, and she did talk about that before. And like almost like she had to put her sisters before her kids, and she had to really struggle not to do that. And the other sisters did agree that they had that dynamic going on. And I think the parents could be part of some of the roots of their issues, because if you always feel like no matter what, you got to put your sister ahead of everything, like that's tough, right? That's tough. So I don't know. Spirit said, once they're ready to move forward with some more, counseling and healing, she is willing to do it with them. And she told Trina she would set her up with some, one-to-one treatment, because just because she had one session, she got something out, like doesn't mean she's going to be healed. Like, she's going to need some extensive therapy. And she hugged her later on and told her, like, you don't have to live like that, sis. Like, we're going to get you together. And so they went back to fixing the oxtails and the biscuits and all that. And they went back in the kitchen like nothing happened. That's what it looked like. I hope Tamar and Towanda can fix whatever they have going on. Yeah, this is not good. This is not for the kingdom and the glory of God. This is not. Tracy would not be pleased. Y'all better get it together. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought of the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to y'all again very soon. Bye.